Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on three. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Amy. Today, I am talking to Erin Cox. She is a licensed mental health practitioner who has been in the mental health field for 23 years. She's an instructor at the University of Nebraska at Omaha in the Graduate Studies Counseling Department. She is also mom to 3. She is also my cousin. She can't come more highly recommended. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So start by telling our listeners a little bit about your work as a counselor and the groups that you work with.
So I have been in the mental health field for 23 years. I worked with couples and families and kiddos and adults and like you name it. If it's mental health, I'm interested. I don't have a specialty where I only do this or I only do that. So that's left me with sort of like this mixed bag, right? Like if you bring something to me, I can probably figure it out. I've probably seen and done most everything. I love working with people. I'm fascinated by mental health, endlessly interested. And now I teach at the University of Nebraska, Omaha, where I work with the counseling students, helping them prepare for their careers in the field of mental health.
So we're entering a time of year where, I don't know, it's the most everything time of the year. I wanted to ask you about that because we're going to talk today about sort of sticky family situations at the holidays that our listeners have, that a lot of us have, how to approach them. Why is it that this time of year feels so much more fraught?
I think the idea is we come into it with this expectation, right? That things are going to be magical and perfect. And, life just doesn't really play by those rules. We are humans. And with every experience we're going to have, there's going to be wonderful things, there's going to be terrible things, and there's going to be neutral things. I mean, that's just how it goes. But for some reason, when we collectively decide, no, it's only going to be the good things, I'm only accepting the good things, it's like it never comes to fruition, right? And we're left with a lot of hurt feelings or resentments or blaming, it's her fault, it's his fault. Instead of just coming at it with like managed expectations, like there's going to be good things and bad things and neutral things, and that's okay. That's actually life.
It reminds me of, I think you studied Buddhism a little bit, and this idea of the pain is in the gap between how you think things should be and the way things are, and you're existing in that gap of frustration instead of accepting your uncle, your sister, for things the way they are.
100%. I think that's really such a benefit of mental health is just being like, okay, I can see things as they are, and then I can make decisions from there. And if it doesn't work out the way I want it to work out, well, there are billions of people on this planet. It is unrealistic to say the holiday season is going to be just how I want them. The weather is going to cooperate, the food will cooperate, the family will, like everyone's just going to do you are setting yourself up for nothing but heartache if you're going into it like that. At that point, you're sort of causing your own suffering, right? Just acknowledge, it's going to be messy. We are humans are messy, and it's going to be okay.
And when you say you're causing your own suffering, I think it's important to underline that it's not your feelings are imaginary or even optional, just that you are frustrated that your dad isn't different, but choosing to stay there, I guess, is the part where we can maybe work on ourselves a little bit.
Absolutely. That's an absolutely the call is coming from inside the house kind of opportunity. like, oh, actually, that was me, right? Like I was just anticipating this time of year, things are going to be magically different. Nope, that's on me.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we asked our listeners to send us their sort of sticky situations of things that they are dreading this holiday season, whether it's being the adult child and the things that come with that, or even, in my case, I have an adult child who won't be home for Thanksgiving this year, and that's okay. I'm not turning this into like you've ruined Thanksgiving, but I'm starting to enter the like, oh, other people's needs need to be included. And so I wanted to go through some of the things that our listeners sent in because they're extremely, I think, as you'll see, and as if you're listening, as you'll hear, these are very common things that a lot of us are dealing with and talk about how we might reframe them. So the first person said, I'm not going to use people's names because this is sticky stuff today. So we're just going to say anonymous listeners. So one listener said that for her, sticking to her established boundaries with her family is so much harder around the holidays. She said, I've made a conscious effort to distance myself from the toxicity that I grew up with and to focus on my immediate family. And older generations in her family don't understand. And the guilt trips they lay on her are intense. So what would you say to somebody who's sort of on this path of trying to do things differently and is getting a lot of blowback?
Well, I think that that's sort of the heartbeat of boundaries is that they're for you, right? Your boundaries aren't for the other people. So if other people aren't like, I sure love your boundaries, that probably means you're doing it right. They were never for that other person. Just because everyone else isn't responding the way you want them to respond doesn't mean you're doing your boundaries incorrectly or that there's something wrong. It probably means like the people that have the most beef with you having boundaries are the people that benefited the most from you not having them, in the past.
Oh.
If you have boundaries and other people aren't responding to them, like, okay, well, then that was probably a needed boundary.
We have one listener. This is a very common thing, I think, that you do these long drives, and then you have kids, right? So she said, my husband and I used to travel every other holiday to either his parents or my parents. It's a 7.5-hour drive to one side of the family, 4-hour drive to the other side of the family. Everybody else, in both sides of the family are local and don't really get that it's hard to drive. She says, no one seemed to appreciate the time or effort it took to travel in winter, in blizzards along Lake Erie, things like that. And she decided that what's right for their family, she and her partner, I guess, decided that, okay, we can't do this because now we also have 2 young kids. We've been doing this for 10 years. We're not doing this now. I'm making part of this up now, but and now these people's parents are saying, thank you for ruining Christmas. Thank you for how could you be so selfish? And you don't get any credit for the decade you spent driving in the blizzard.
Right. And I think that's part of the, what we were going back to earlier of there's good things and bad things and neutral things that come with that. There was probably some great benefit to driving and spending time together and enjoying that and then spending time with family. But there's probably also great benefit to being at home and to say maybe next year. What your listeners are kind of highlighting is that there's no one right way. And I think we kind of have this idea, there's this magical right answer. I just have to get it. I just have to find it. I just have to do that thing. And then everyone will be happy and the holidays will be magical and my friends and family will adore me. And my children will say, Mom, this is the best Christmas or the best Kwanzaa we've ever had. It's just not always like that. It's never like that. But just to say this year, I want to do this. Next year, maybe I'll try that. And on we go. But if there's family strife, who's going where and we're traveling, to have maybe that family meeting, so to speak, and just say, I love you. I care about you. I want us all to be happy. Can we negotiate holiday times? Could you come to see me? Could you drive the 7.5 hours along Lake Erie and come see me sometimes? To not approach it with the fury or electric fence, but to approach it with I love you and I want to spend time with you. How can we do this in a way that works for all of us? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't want to set you up
Right. Just say that and then it'll be perfect.
That might not be it, but certainly that would give you, we can't control what other people say, do, think, feel, right? So the idea is just...
Say that again. Give me that again.
We can't control anyone else on the planet's thoughts, feelings, ideas, opinions, behaviors, experiences, none of it, right? We just have mastery over ourselves. Self-mastery is where it's at. So to go, okay, can I behave in a way that at the end of this day, conversation, holiday, Thanksgiving, whatever it is, say, I couldn't control anybody else today. I couldn't control their behavior or their feelings, but I'm super proud of the way I handled myself today. Can we just get to that point where we're really proud of how we handle ourselves? Can I approach every conversation with that idea? Like, I can't control what the other person's going to say or do or think or feel, but I'm really proud of the way I handled me. That's all we got.
Yeah. And it lowers the bar a little bit. If it felt good for yourself and you conducted yourself during the conversation the way that you wanted to, the difficult conversation, then that is an achievement.
That's a win.
And you don't have to keep going until everybody agrees with you or feels fine about it.
Right. It's compromising and everybody kind of saying what they need to say, but then saying, can we all, meet in the middle on this? What's an idea? It's not going to be my way. It's not going to be your way. It's going to be this third way where everybody gets a little needs met and loses a little. And you know what I mean? Can we get there?
That's a good way of thinking of it. There's another thing that occurs to me as I'm thinking about this listener doing the long drive, because I think part of what she's frustrated about is the lack of reciprocation, like speaking as a recovering over-deliverer. Again, this is not something the listener's saying, but I imagine that this is part of it. That's like, I drove 7.5 hours for 9 years, and now I'm saying I'm going to stay home, and everybody's mad at me and not reciprocating, that you don't get back anything like the effort you put in yourself. That might happen. So how do you feel okay about that part of it?
Everybody on the planet sort of has three possible choices here. You either change the situation, change your thoughts and feelings about the situation, or status quo, like do nothing. So in this example, change the situation might be like, look, I'm not going anymore, right? Like if you want to see me, come on out to me, but I'm pulling the plug on this, right? I'm not traveling anymore. Change thoughts and feelings might be like, I am going, but I'm working with my thoughts and feelings of like, look, I only have a limited number of holiday seasons left with family member XYZ. It's important to me. I want to make the most of it. I want to continue to make this effort, and I'm going to go knowing that's why I'm doing it and knowing that it's not always reciprocated, but this is a choice that I'm making for me. It's important to me, right? Maybe that'd be like an example of a change thoughts and feelings. A status quo would be like, I don't change my thoughts. I don't change my feelings. I don't change the situation. I just keep doing what I've always done. I'm an autopilot. I just do the devil you know. So you have those choices every time.
And maybe the issue is like you've chosen to change your behavior and somebody else is still doing status quo. You've changed your thoughts and feelings and somebody else hasn't.
Excellent point. You're doing that for you. You're not changing anybody else's stuff. So you change a situation might be like, I'm not going. That doesn't mean a guarantee that other people are going to be like, wait, I'm upset about this. You can't control them, but you're saying, okay, I've had enough, or I'm taking a year off. I think that we tend to think of holidays as like, you do it once, that's always going to be this way, right? We have this nostalgia thing where it's like, hell, we did that last year. We have to do, every year can be different. Every year could be a different location or a different tradition or a different, right? Like you don't have to do it the same every time. I think families kind of get locked in where it's like, Thanksgiving is at so-and-so's house. Does it have to be? Like, could we also go to this location? I don't know, but tread lightly. People tend to cling to some of those things, but offer an idea. Maybe we could meet here. Or maybe if it's people from two faraway locations, could we literally meet in the middle?
Go to the Holiday Inn. Yeah.
Get a big Airbnb and all be under one roof. And could we do that? Like, I don't know. Like, brainstorm.
I'm talking to Erin Cox. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about this. How do you gradually hand over something to somebody else, which can be very fraught? We'll be right back. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about how, like, can you gently sort of walk something away from somebody? And this can be very fraught, that maybe your parents, who generally host Christmas, are just getting too old to do it. And you do it, but you live really far away. Nobody wants to drive. And the person who lives in town doesn't seem to be taking the hint. Or the parent doesn't really want to hand it over, even though they can't get up and downstairs very well anymore, let alone cook for 18. I'm wondering, and this is where I think my over-deliver things is like, I'm here to fix it, everyone, right? I see a problem. Nobody asked me to fix it, but I'm going to, and I'm going to tell everybody what to do, which doesn't always go well. And so I guess as I'm saying, like, so what do you do when this happens? Like, maybe you do nothing, but what would you say to the listeners who are feeling that pressure of like, oh my God, it's really time for this to be different, but nobody sees it that way?
Well, I think that's part of the messiness that we were, talking about earlier, like the human messiness of these equations. The handoff is a big one. I've heard it all the way around that. Like sometimes it's the older generation being like, they won't take it, like
yeah.
I've been very clear, like, please someone else take this over, or vice versa, where it's like, they won't let it go. It could go either way. But I think the idea is to really have that soft startup, have that like gentle conversation where you might start off by like thanking that person, like, thank you so much for the years and years and years of generational holidays that we have had here. And I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful. And I'm just wondering if you'd like to take a break this year, or have me do it this year, or have it at so-and-so's house this year. To just do it gently, do a little role reversal, like put yourself in that person's shoes and look at how they're maybe looking at it, and then have the conversation. So you kind of know your audience. What would that be like to have Thanksgiving at your house for 40 years and then someone else says, tagging out, it's my turn.
Right.
I don't know, right? Like some would be like, thank goodness, it's all yours, finally. And some are going to be like, how dare you? This is my thing. This is my holiday. But you know that person pretty well. I'm guessing if you've had Thanksgiving there for 40 years, you know that person pretty well. So can you kind of put yourself in their shoes, and how can they best hear that message?
It occurs to me in these moments too, there tends to be a lot of triangulation, like you and I saying that Aunt Bertha really shouldn't be doing this, and her daughter. And yes, I am being gendered. This is a gendered stuff we're dealing with, all this king keeping of the holidays. She really needs to do something about that, don't you think? And we're like, yes, like really something must be done. we're not in it. Maybe we're not in it, or maybe we are in it and bringing in a third person. Like, don't you think I'm right that Jim should drive to my house this year instead of having the direct conversations? So can you explain a little bit about like that tendency?
Well, I think that circles back to exactly what you were talking about earlier. Like, why does this stuff just get amped up around holiday stuff? And I think it's because it matters. It matters to everyone like at the same time. It's not like a birthday. It's like each person's birthday is on a separate day. This is like it's all on the same day. And so how do you navigate that really gently, being really considerate, being very empathetic, being able to put yourself in their shoes and look at it through their eyes? But what you're describing kind of is that triangulation where it's like, okay, now so-and-so is involved and then we've got so-and-so. And the main things we're trying to avoid is any sort of toxic situation where you're bringing up things like fear, obligation, and guilt. We call it fog.
Oh,
Fear,
all right.
we want to avoid those things. So if you're using those things, you're being toxic. Or if other people are using those things, that's kind of like a toxic mix. So try to avoid any time you're saying yes out of fear, or you're saying no out of fear or obligation or guilt. Try to do it from this healthy place of like, no, I love my family or I love my friends and I want to spend time with them and this is important to me. And so I'm going to participate, rather than the like, oh, I have to,
Right.
That's an obligation where someone's laying a guilt trip on you for doing it or not doing it or coming or not coming, right? Like try to avoid the fog, fear, obligation, guilt.
On both sides.
On both sides of the equation.
This is the perfect, I think, framework for this next listener who is dealing with trying to do her best while like everybody's mad at her anyway. So here's her situation. She says, my parents divorced 5 years ago after 30 years of marriage. I'm the oldest daughter, so I took over hosting Christmas. And now she coordinates one of the grandparents comes Christmas Eve and one of the grandparents comes Christmas morning, and they have to switch off since the divorce. She says, I try to make it fair. I love the holidays, but somebody is always disappointed it's not their morning year, like Christmas morning. And it creates so much more work as I feel like I have to amp up everything so it all feels special. So now she has to make Christmas Eve extra bright for the other grandparent. Like they got divorced, but they're mad at her that they can't both be there on Christmas morning.
Right. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head where it's like, I was not a part of that marriage. Like I didn't decide that the two of you should get divorced. That was an adult to adult situation that I'm over here. Right. So really the guilt that you're feeling is kind of, that's one of those situations we were saying earlier, the call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
I didn't choose to have you guys divorced. And this is me making the best of that situation. And if people are being really outwardly like, I can't believe you're not having me, Chris, then you could say, I would love to. If the two of you feel like you could get along, I would love to have you all on Christmas morning. That would be lovely if you feel like you can manage that, right? Like, but if it's not possible, that's literally not your fault.
Right.
Can you let that go and say, this is not my doing. I'm really going above and beyond, inviting everyone and including everyone. But it's okay. If people are upset from a situation they caused, I'm not taking that, right? Like, not it.
And how do you figure out in that situation? Again, speaking as the over-deliverer, that she's so stressed. She's trying to make Christmas Eve extra special so her dad won't be sad or her mom won't be sad, whatever. And maybe she's getting a lot of tapped feet and pursed lips, and maybe she's not. Maybe it's an obligation that she's putting on herself. So how do you sort of look at that stuff? Like, am I making this harder than it needs to be because I am stressed that it's not the same?
That's such a great question. And it's always so hard to navigate because we're not that other person, right? But so I kind of like to do like a gut check, like get your body involved in this, right? Like if you're doing something to go, okay, if somebody asks you to do something or you tell yourself to do something, like check with your body. Does this feel like I'm doing this because it's something I want to do? Or am I doing this because of my own need to be loved or admired, or right? Is it my own abandonment? So give yourself a gut check and maybe dial it back to like intention. Like, what's my intention from this? Am I trying to make a nice holiday? I've done it. If it's that people are going to be so overwhelmed with the loveliness of Christmas Eve that they'll, talk about it for years, then you're assigning like other people's emotional well-being to yourself. And that's not really possible, right? You could have a lovely holiday and you can include friends and family and then say, this is, my gift to you. I want to make you feel welcome in my home. I'm making a special evening, but that your obligation's done. Other than that, you're like, I'm trying to pile on because I'm playing a game in my own head. Like, that's kind of not your intention. Your intention was to include everyone and have a lovely holiday, and you've done that, right? So cut yourself some slack, make it good enough. Like I said, look at yourself in the mirror at the end of that night and go, I'm really proud of the way I included everyone on Christmas Eve.
Right. And then there's the issue of your kids. I'm thinking about like if you have little ones.
Right.
And Christmas morning's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're hosting people on Christmas Eve too, so nobody's left out. And now your kids are up until 11, and which means they're going to be nightmares when they wake up at 6 tomorrow morning. And you haven't exactly finished doing everything you need to do for that. And you're sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul that like the stuff we do for our kids at Christmas is fun. Certainly optional. And we put it all on ourselves and we move the elf on the shelf every night. But a lot of us get a lot of joy from that, right? But if you have to start pulling from what's right for that 5-year-old because grandma's mad that you're not going to Aunt whoever's that's 90 minutes away on Christmas Eve and then driving home at midnight, it seems to me that we can spend time sort of trying to make that balance work, and it kind of can't. That people over a certain age tend to forget that you can't just put a kid to bed later and they'll sleep later. And
right. Or skip nap time and it'll magically
skip nap, right.
Okay. You're like, no, it doesn't work like that.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm wondering, like, is it about making that more visible to the people who might be unhappy? Do they need to be reminded of what it's really like? Is that a waste of time? What do you think?
No, I think that's completely healthy. And to remind people maybe far removed from having that 5-year-old in the house to say, oh, I'm sure you remember when I was 5, how you used to manage this. There's a lot going on behind the scenes and we got to get this kid out of bed. And again, all these things be done in a really gentle way to remind them of like, you remember this, right? When the kids were little and you had to get everyone off to bed and hope that they go to sleep, it's not a fight fire with fire kind of a situation, right? That's a wrong statement. There is no fight fire with fire. You fight fire with water. I mean, that's how you put out a fire, water. So if someone's on fire, you apply the water and go, oh, of course you remember this. We got to have everyone out by 8 so that we can get kids to bed and get ready. It's okay to have healthy boundaries. It's okay to include people you love in them. And I think that's important to remember. Like, it's kind of a good problem to have that you have so many people that love you, that want to spend time with you on holidays. I'm not a big Friends fan, but there was like a thing on Friends once where, Ross has 2 girlfriends and Chandler's joking. It's like, oh, your wallet's too fat and your diamond shoes are too tight. It's like, I've got so many friends and family that I don't know where to be and who to spend time with. Everybody wants to see us. You're pretty blessed. That's a good problem to have.
I love the phrase, I'm sure you remember. I'm going to totally hip pocket that instead of, you don't understand that she doesn't have her nap in her crib. She's going to be to start with. You remember? I'm sure you understand. It's such a positive zero entry way into the conversation.
Yeah, you can be removed from something and kind of forget that in a sense. But if someone reminds you, you're like, oh yeah, of course I do remember that. Oh, missing nap time was so tough. The next 2 days. So I think get people on board, join forces with them, and they don't have to be your enemy. These are your loved ones.
I'm talking to Erin Cox. When we come back, guys, we have a really serious problem we need to deal with. Really high stakes. We'll be right back. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that, taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, We'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Okay, I got some more issues for you. Now we have some pet drama. I mean, which this comes up at the holidays.
Yeah.
So this is a tale. I'm going to read you this listener's dilemma and we'll talk about it. Last year, she says, my mother-in-law told my husband's younger sister, without asking us, that she could bring her 12-year-old Shih Tzu to our house for Christmas. The listener says, we already had a house full of guests coming. We have a dog of our own. We have a toddler. We were like, no, actually, that doesn't work. And everybody lost their mind. We were told that the dog knows what Christmas is, and it might be the dog's last Christmas.
Oh, heavens.
Yeah. We ultimately said, okay, fine. The dog can come if it was a difference between my sister-in-law coming or not. Sister-in-law ended up not bringing the dog because she forgot that she needed to pay to bring a pet on the plane until the last minute. And so then the dog didn't come anyway. But here's the point. The listener caved to the dog drama. Fine, bring your dog that knows what Christmas is. And the dog didn't come. But everybody's still mad. You know, she says now, like, my sister-in-law won't speak to my husband over this, will not come for the holidays this year. And everybody's still mad, even though they were like, this doesn't work for us, but okay, fine. And then everybody's still mad anyway. I mean, that's not yours to fix, I suppose. But how do you get like right-minded about that? Because this listener, I think, has a lot of attitude like, are you serious, a dog?
Right.
Which
the dog that knows Christmas.
Maybe it's justified, but right. Like this other person has a huge problem with me. They're still mad, even though I tried to fix it. And P.S., that's a made-up problem. So how do you help her get right with this?
Well, okay. My daughter is a deep animal lover, right? Like she is all in with animals and plants and the whole nine yards, living things. So I can see, I feel like I've glimpsed my future with the dog that knows the holidays. But having said that, if it's your home, if you are the host, like you're allowed to have boundaries around your home and who's in it and what's in it and why, right? Like it's not an unrealistic request to say humans only this holiday. I think that's okay. It's absolutely okay. But also to recognize that people do have deep attachment to their pets and that some people will be hurt by that. And you can 100% say, it is not, your dog is lovely. I adore your puppy. This is just a matter of like the other people that are in the home and the pets I already have in the home or the children I have in the home or whatever's going on, right? It's okay to have that boundary and to maybe just address it head on with the sister and say, I'm so sorry that hurt your feelings. Clearly, that was not my intention.
Mm-hmm.
I love you and I want to see you this holiday season. And I hope you'll reconsider coming this holiday season and just see what happens. But you can't manage them.
Right.
I can't promise you that sister or sister-in-law will be like, okay, thanks for saying that. But it might go a long way to have that little heart to heart. I don't know.
I think that there should be a book called The Dog That Knew What Christmas Was. The Timeless Tale. It's a special. It's a Rankin Bass special that's on every year.
I'd read that book.
Every night I read it to my kids. This is sort of a related question. I think this segues nicely into the more general topic of when the most difficult family member runs the show. So this one doesn't have a dog in it, but this listener says, I have a sister-in-law who's incredibly self-centered, can be very rude. The husband's family's all afraid of her. So everybody lets her say whatever she wants, even if it's mean. Last year, our listener, she says, after 10 plus years of being crapped on, she called her out at the holidays. Then she got scolded by the sister-in-law's husband, by her in-laws, and by her husband for not keeping the peace. Like, what are you doing?
Oh.
So that's an extremely familiar thing for a lot of listeners, I think. So tell us about that when you can see from the outside, because you're the in-law, that there is a dynamic where this sort of toxic family member is being accommodated. And how do you get right with that?
So in the mental health field, we kind of, this isn't very flattering to families, but families are kind of structured like a cult. And if that person's on the top of that cult, then you saying like, whoa, I'm calling you out on it. Other people, how dare you? That's our,
It's
our
dangerous.
leader.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're playing a dangerous game. You have not been in that family, right? You did not grow up with that family system, that dynamic. You got dropped in as an adult with an adult brain, adult eyes, and adult reasoning, whereas they had that all the way along with their, they're probably doing that from their 8-year-old self is responding to this sister that's on the top of the pyramid there. So you have adult vision. You didn't grow up with that. So you can come in and go like, what? Like, what is happening right now? But they are all in the cult. They're all like, how dare you, right? Like, we are supposed to accommodate this one person. You have a choice to make. You can play along while you're there, or you can continue to call them out, but know that calling them out comes with the consequences of the other cult members saying like, how dare you? I'm so uncomfortable with you not playing along with this toxic family member. Again, not a right answer. There's no one way to do it, but you can change the situation, change your thoughts and feelings, or you can just status quo. You have a choice to make there.
Yeah, it might not be your job to show everybody like, this is terrible and you're doing it wrong. You might not get that done at one Christmas dinner.
You will probably be met with a lot of resistance if you do. Yeah.
But on the other hand, if somebody is saying something very toxic or pointed or racist or whatever, I'm completely making this up. I don't know the particulars of the situation, but something really bad, you have a right to say something, and it's not only okay if everybody else is fine with it.
That's absolutely true, right? And I think that leads to kind of a bigger thread that's going through all of this is that you're role modeling for your children how you want holidays to be. So, for example, if you just sit there and take that person's toxicity and your kids are watching you take that person's toxicity, are you teaching them like, this is what we do when someone is really hurtful, aggressive, racist, whatever, that we just sit there and take it like, I don't know that I'm okay with that, right? Like, I think I might say something in the moment because I don't want to be role modeling that for my kids, that we just swallow someone's toxicity.
Yeah.
So be thinking of that. I always kind of go to legacy, like, what am I leaving behind here if with my behaviors or my words or my actions? What do I want to show my kids? That's always on the radar.
That's a good point. And it matters. It's going back to like what your immediate family. It doesn't always have to be like, what works for us is like, we live on this tiny mountain and nobody else can come. It's not that, but it's that's not never a priority, right? What your kids need.
Right.
What your kids are hearing. Here's one that I think is on the other end of the Doug Who Knew What Christmas Was. It's kind of the opposite of this, and I'll just read it and then you'll see why. So a listener says that she has a medically vulnerable family member and the holidays are a minefield. She says, yes, you have to do a COVID test and text us the result before we come over. Yes, we'll pay for it and drop it off. If you don't want to do a test, no problem, but we're not coming over. No, we are not going to risk a family member's life because someone doesn't want to swab their nose. No, you can't test only if you have symptoms because you should not be around anybody if you already are sick with something. And the constant work of protecting your family member and getting the eye rolls in return. So this to me is like, now we're coming to the point of view of like, I am coming with something really important and not optional. And I'm still getting the eye rolls and I'm not getting the support I need from the family. And that's frustrating, disappointing, heartbreaking, all those things.
All the things, yes. But that listener's describing, there's various like levels of threat that we face. What they're talking about is life threat. That's the highest level there is. And if people can't get on board with something that's literally up to life threat, then that's kind of on them. That's kind of their selfishness. Again, you can say that in a loving way. Like, I know you care about so-and-so with these major medical issues. I know you would never want to harm them. I know that you would never want to be the reason that so-and-so has COVID on top of these life-threatening, kind of like we're saying, like, I'm sure you remember, right? You could do something like that. Like, I know that you care about this person's life as well. But then if they're still resistant, sometimes you got to have boundaries and you got to hold firm, right? They're not porous. They are boundaries, and say, I'm sorry, we're not coming because of this. And you could still say that. I love you and I want you to have a lovely holiday season, but I'm not coming.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that we won't be able to join you, but...
Right, but I'm sorry. That's the way it is.
It seems to me like this is also maybe a place, we have this like running thing in the podcast where we say the lady said that when your kids don't want to leave the park, it's like, well, the quacking duck on my phone said it's time to go. Like,
externalize it.
You externalize the decision. Exactly. This is a case where like the lady said, like, Arabella's doctor has forbidden her for the next 6 weeks to be in contact with anybody who doesn't have a mask on and who isn't tested. You can just make it not well, Christmas won't be the same if we have to have masks on. And can't we just take them off while we're taking pictures and opening presents? Like you can externalize the firm boundary because then you're on the same side of the fence as everybody else. Like, geez, wish we didn't have these difficult things, but the doctor said we had to. Maybe that's avoiding the conversation of like, you should do this because it's right for her, not, I shouldn't have to give you the right reason to want to do this.
Right.
But if you just don't want to have a fight about it or get blowback, then you could do something like that to make it a little more concrete.
Sure, absolutely. And again, like, I think that really ties to what we were saying earlier about like, you can look yourself in the mirror and be like, I am really proud of the way I handled myself. My job is my children's safety. That's it. That's number one priority for me. I accomplished that goal. Sleep like a baby. No guilt. Right. Can I say one more thing about boundaries?
Yes.
So there's a quote, it's from Prentice Hemphill, and it says, boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. So that's what a boundary is. If I'm loving myself and I'm loving you, this is the good boundary. Too far in either direction is where we get off track. If I'm only loving me or I'm only loving you, that's where resentment builds and people get upset. But a good boundary is where I can safely love you and myself at the same time.
Wow. I'm going to take that with me.
Please do.
So we've been talking to family counselor Erin Cox. She's amazing, as you have heard. I so enjoyed talking to you about this stuff. Our family's fine. We don't have any issues in our family, even though we're first cousins. Nobody ever gets mad at anybody in our family. But Erin, tell our listeners where they might be able to find your work now or in the future. Are you working on anything?
I have a couple irons in the fire and things I'd like to, develop here in the future, but I will keep Amy in the loop and have her let you know where, when, and how to reach me.
All right. We will keep you posted on that, and we will have Erin back to talk about more of these questions because you make it all seem fun. Erin, thanks for talking to me today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Amy.